So there's something. Oh, sorry. I've been thinking about it for a while, and I thought I'd make a video about it. It's the idea of the end times in itself. That's such a negative thing. It just sounds terrible. You know, there's all this death and you know, there's a bunch of according to certain things where like people disappear, and there's gonna be all this craziness on Earth, and then there's gonna be like beasts and dragon type things, and it's just a whole mess. But when people talk about the end times nowadays, it's like they just can't wait for it to happen. They just have this sense of like, oh, I just can't wait for it just to go down, because it's gonna be this is what we've been waiting for. But when you really look at what that means for the human race and like just everybody, is that, you know, we're done. That was it. Experiment over. I kind of see it that way, but the truth is that what if the end times in itself, like the second coming of God, what if there was other options? What if that's just one option of like what could possibly happen? Because if you think about it, God came down, Jesus came down and says, you know, your job is to spread the good news, to spread the gospel of Jesus, right? That was your job. And if you were to live a righteous life, you'd be able to do that job a lot easier through example, right? You'd be able to lead people by example, and people would know that it was the correct way. And it would be easier for you to, I guess, you know, turn people towards God. That's really what I'm trying to get at. And if that's our goal and that's our mission as Christians, why would the world get so crazy? If we were doing our job, we'd have more people that believed in God, and it'd be a positive thing. It'd be a positive thing. So maybe the end times is not so negative. Maybe the end times is just a warning if we don't follow through with what we've been charged to do. Now, we've been charged to spread the good news, and if we ignore that, maybe the end times is the result. Maybe the end times is just a consequence of us not listening. But instead, right now, everybody's just like, I can't wait for the end times, and they seem so resigned for it to happen, just like it's gonna happen. So sit back and wait. It kind of lets you off the hook of really leading a good life. It's almost like leading a good life as a Christian is like an insurance policy. Like, yeah, when the end time hits, I'll be ready. You know, and it's just such kind of like a defeat, like I'm defeated, like defeated attitude towards the end times. Because perhaps, maybe it's, like I said, maybe it's just a challenge. The challenge is to avoid this. The challenge is to heed the Father's warning and to try to let it not happen. Because if Revelations was never written, would it still happen? Or have we driven ourselves into this self-fulfilled prophecy, knowing that this is what's going to happen? But I always think about it like this, really, is that I have kids, and sometimes I tell my kids, like, hey, don't do that or you'll get a spanking. My kids still do it. And I'm confused as a father. I'm like, man, like, you'd think it'd be so easy to listen. I told them what the consequence was. I told them what would happen if they didn't listen. And then they didn't listen. And they got a spanking. Now, in a much greater scope, maybe that's what God's doing. He's saying, hey, this is what will happen. And if you don't listen, you're going to get a spanking. I don't know. Food for thought.